For a decade, Deborah Rutter served as president of the Kennedy Center. This week, she was fired from that position. Donald Trump had replaced many board members with his own supporters, and on Wednesday, the new board appointed Trump Kennedy Center chairman.
So we took over the Kennedy Center. We didn't like what they were showing and various other things.
This is what he told reporters Monday night.
I'm going to be chairman of it, and we're going to make sure that it's good and it's not going to be woke.
He also told reporters he had never been to a show at the Kennedy Center because, quote, there was nothing I wanted to see. Deborah Rutter is in our studios now to talk about the abrupt end to her tenure. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
How abrupt was it? How did you find out all this was afoot?
I was actually in the basement of the Kennedy Center with my executive assistant, and I got a phone call from a member of the board.
And what was the phone call? What did they tell you? And what went
It was
through your
very
mind?
short. It was very short and direct. It was from somebody I'd worked with for many, many years.
Did you have any idea this was coming?
Well, I wasn't surprised. There had been communication saying that an interim executive director would be coming in to meet with me and to work alongside me. I read between the lines a little bit.
You know, after you got the news, you said you got a phone call. What did you tell your staff? How did you communicate all this to them?
I knew that something was happening because we had called a board meeting for Wednesday afternoon. And I have always been a big believer that you share everything that you possibly can with your staff. You communicate with them quickly and transparently. So we had called a staff meeting in the Reach in Studio K for that afternoon. And so when I got the phone call, I waited a little bit and then walked over to Studio K and walked in the door and found it filled, absolutely jam-packed with my colleagues. And so I gave them a little bit of news. They jumped up and they were being very enthusiastic. I pride myself in being a good leader and knowing my people. And it was hard to see them all there, I will say.
What did you say? What were your words?
So I started out just by saying, I'm going to be short, and I hope to keep this private amongst us because that's what this is. And in the little bit before I walked in the room, I had jotted down some notes, in fact. And I said, forgive me, I'm going to tell a story that some of you have heard before. My parents gave me the opportunity to play the piano when I was a little kid. And in the third grade, my public school teacher opened a cabinet door and said, what instrument will you play? Not would you like to play, will you play?
Right.
This was to the entire class. And I chose the violin. And I often think of that day as being the pivotal moment in my life because I have made all the important decisions around music and the arts. And I mean that, what I did in my free time, etc. I have spent all of my professional career, all these 47 years, really focused on uplifting the artist and bringing music to as many people as possible. The last 10 years, I have had the great privilege to work with this extraordinary group of people, and I wish them the best, and I tried not to cry too much. I did close with one last thing, which was really important to me, which is that we wear a lanyard for our badge to get into the building. And when we celebrated the 100th anniversary of JFK's birth, we worked with Gene Kennedy Smith, his sister, who was still alive at the time, to really talk about what he stood for and what was important to him. And what I said to the staff was, let's remember these ideals that were created with the Kennedy family: courage, justice, freedom, service, and gratitude.
Will you go back
To the Kennedy Center?
to a performance?
I think I have two that I want to go to next week. It's hard to break a really, really ingrained habit.
The Kennedy Center is prestigious. It's very well known. it is also one institution inside the Beltway in Washington, D.C. Why should the rest of the country, the rest of the world care about who's in charge?
So the Kennedy Center is absolutely the local performing arts center for the people who live in the region and who visit. But it is, by congressional mandate, the National Cultural Center. And we have a mandate from 1958 that calls for it to be the National Performing Arts Center and the National Advocate for Arts Education. In 1964, they added the living memorial to John F. Kennedy. So this is more than just the local performing arts center. It represents America to the world, and it invites the world to our nation's capital to be a showcase for all of the arts.
To your knowledge, can President Trump do this? Is there any law, any statute that would prevent him from ousting the board, ousting you?
The statute establishes that a 36-member board and a 21-member ex officio board guide the operations of the Kennedy Center and those three sort of peers of our mission. Those 36 are appointed by the President of the United States to serve for a 6-year term. It is silent on whether or not the president can remove them, and it is clear, absolutely clear in our bylaws that the board elects the chairman of the board. So it is unprecedented for the Kennedy Center to have the President of the United States as a member of the board, and it is therefore unprecedented that the board would elect that individual to be chair of the board. The board...
Unprecedented, not necessarily illegal or...
I can't speak to that, but that is what the statute and our bylaws call for.
I mean, just to cut to the chase, it's been, 2 days since you were ousted. How are you thinking about things?
I'm really, really, really sad about what happens to our artists, what happens on our stages, and our staff who support them. The Kennedy Center is meant to be a beacon for the arts in all of America, across the country. And we have worked so hard and accomplished so much over this last decade to really broaden the programming, to invite all manner of arts and artists to our stages, and we've expanded our audience as a result. I pray that that can be sustained, but that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, you used the word sad just now. Why sad? What is it that is giving you pause?
So people who choose to make their career in the arts do so because they care so deeply about what it represents. Artists are holding a mirror up to the society. They tell the stories of who we are. And those of us who might have at one point aspired to be an artist and discovered that perhaps better backstage than on stage, care deeply about it. The people who work to support and uplift the work of the artists are amongst the most talented, skilled, top of the field anywhere in the world, not just in the region, not just in our country, anywhere in the world. And they have dedicated their lives to it. They have sacrificed lots. When you have really smart people, they often want to go into another business that might make them more money or more prestige, whatever that might be. These are people who are so dedicated to the mission and to really the desire to tell the stories of who we are as Americans. So this is mission-driven work. And when you are deeply committed to the mission, that's where you have these emotions.
Yeah. And again, what is giving you pause or giving you concern that they couldn't continue to be committed to the mission?
Well, I think these are really, truly unprecedented times, not just here in our city, certainly in our city here in Washington, D.C., but across the country. And the challenges that are occurring across so many divisions give us all pause. What does it mean for freedom of expression, for the experimentation of new ideas? That is what an artist does. And I often talk about this with people who really want to understand what it drives an artist to be who they are. Artists are, at their soul, communicators. They are storytellers, no matter what their genre is, whether it's visual, dancing, singing, acting, comedy, whatever that is. They are storytellers, and they need the freedom to be able to tell those stories. And without that freedom, they will go somewhere else. But the National Cultural Center should be where they feel the safest and at home.
Renee Fleming, the famous soprano, has announced she is stepping down as artistic advisor. Yesterday, I saw the actor and director Issa Rae says she is canceling what was supposed to be a sold-out show at the Kennedy Center next month. What is your advice to artists going forward? Should they come to the Kennedy Center? Should they perform?
If they have the invitation and they know that the environment is safe for them to express their ideas and their art, absolutely. Our National Cultural Center needs and deserves to be the platform for artists of all sorts, but they have to feel welcome and safe.
That prompts me to ask about a comment that President Trump made. As you know, he criticized the Kennedy Center for being woke. He has also said, and I'm quoting, "No more drag shows or other anti-American propaganda, only the best." Deborah Rutter, how do you understand those words? How do you react?
So I have dedicated my life, my professional life, to supporting artists and providing opportunities for audiences. 47 years in May, I will have been working full-time in doing that. And I am a professional arts attendee. I am a believer in the work of the artist. I am not a propagandist. I am not a politician. Art speaks for itself. Art sometimes doesn't make you feel comfortable, but it is telling the story of who we are. And all artists, as all Americans, have the freedom of expression. And it is really important for all artists to be able to tell those stories. I will tell you that we have many, many more people coming to performances today because they see themselves welcome at the Kennedy Center. And that is my concern. How will we be able to sustain what we've done to really throw open the doors and make sure that the Kennedy Center is not just welcoming everybody, but seeing themselves and hearing their stories on our stages? Oh, I used our. I guess it is still our stage. It is, the Kennedy Center still is my cultural center as well.
I hear you choosing your words very carefully. Is there anything else before I let you go that you would like Americans to know or understand about this situation at the Kennedy Center and what it will mean for the arts in America?
Art is all around us. Art is a way to unify us and should not be dividing us. We have to pay attention to our artists, all of them. They all have different points of view. And that's a great thing. That is a part of who we are as Americans. And we must uplift them, not limit them.
Deborah Rutter was president of the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts for a decade until she was ousted this week. Thank you.
Thank you.